the trickiest things that I've seen happening to a lot of us over the last couple of years has to do with keeping track, or not, of who the heck we are. And we really need to figure out some really good ways of truly seeing who we are and who our friends, our family, and our peers are right now. You see, the more we simply hear noise, attack, or babble from those around us, the more we buy into the illusion that they aren't doing, somehow, exactly what their soul has agreed to do at this moment. And the longer we believe that something or someone outside of ourselves, or ourselves for that matter, is somehow wrong, or that something has gone wrong, the longer we're prolonging our journey back to peace, harmony, abundance, and gratitude. After all, we all want to know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the universe has this era of Gaia's life figured out, taken care of, and that all is truly well. But we're sabotaging ourselves. We're basically doubting the universe's wisdom and prolonging our feeling of separateness, loneliness, and anxiety in every moment that we believe that something is wrong. And every time we talk that way about something feeling wrong or off, we're essentially creating that experience for ourselves over and over and over, because language is a generator of creation. I'm going to say that one more time. Language is a generator of creation, which means that that which you speak becomes. But unfortunately, we can't just turn around, stop saying bad things, and expect everything to feel great all of a sudden either, right? More is definitely needed from you than having your mouth empty words like all is well when you're truly feeling uneasy. And that's what we're going to talk about in this essay. What the heck should we be doing or saying in order to begin feeling more in alignment with our purposes? And that leads to the title question, too. Who the heck are we, anyway, us humans? Well, that's a really big question when you think about it. Who are we, really? Every religion and spiritual path that I know, respect, love, and admire has a slightly different take on this question, a slightly different or drastically different story about us, right? The Hopi maintain that we were in another previous world, in fact. There have been 4 worlds in their story, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong, please. I like to have accurate information. I think Toltec and Mayan belief systems were similar to theirs too. And in their last world, of their 4 worlds, we hid as the seeds of modern humans underneath this world in the lower former world. And when the time was right for this world to begin for us, we climbed out of the previous world and emerged into this one. The time perspective on those worlds of native story feel very, very similar to me to those that the Vedic traditions talk about in their story. In the Hindu and the Vedic traditions, it's said that we currently live during the Kali Yuga, which is the time of utmost upheaval, destruction, chaos, darkness. The Kali Yuga itself is quite a large period of time. That time period is debated from time to time, but the whole cycle is said to last 432,000 years in Vedic beliefs, although other durations have been proposed for the Kali Yuga. And the Kali Yuga is otherwise known as the age of the demon Kali, or the age of vice. It is, according to most sources, like Wikipedia, you can look this up anywhere pretty much at this stage of humanity, it's the last of the 4 stages that the world goes through as part of a cycle of yugas, which is described in Indian scriptures or Vedic scriptures. The other ages are the Satya Yuga, the Treta Yuga, and the Dvapara Yuga. It's clearly a time of clearing and transformation, a great purge and descent into darkness that in its own way, and when you're allowed to view that with a clear interpretation of archetypal passage of time and character traits, archetypal character traits of humans brought forth to us through all of our stories, through stories of deities, gods, goddesses, demigods as additional archetypal qualities that humans all carry within them and as a part of them, then it does indeed even begin to resemble stories we hear of ourselves in other traditions, more Western traditions, such as ancient Babylonian texts, Egyptian texts, Greek, Roman, and even the monotheistic traditions texts, the Hebrew and the Arabic-based story, that we can find everywhere. We can find Greek stories of gods and goddesses, such as Persephone's descent into Hades, and that's essentially the same story of Inanna's descent into the earlier cultures. Like, if you view all of this through a large time perspective, and you view these stories as archetypes, they do start to look quite similar to each other. Inanna's descent could be an archetypal or a metaphoric story that represents the Kali Yuga, the time of the Kali Yuga. Why not? I think, though, that when one views the human story through this lens of just epic time, periods and epochs that last hundreds of thousands of years, or even ages that last a couple of thousand years, such as the Ages Pisces, where we saw the rise of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, the world's largely dominant spiritual and religious perspectives from this time, our time, we can all agree on something. Humans are either descended from gods, were created by gods, or have an otherwise yet similar cosmic origin, in addition to being clearly of this earth, this beautiful Gaia, at the very same time. Humans, in other words, belong to everything. We are a part of everything. We are connected to everything in the universe. We are everything in the universe, if you like seeing it that way. That seems to be true, although of course we can always immerse in a more specific semantic and ideological debate on the exact interpretation and framework that we prefer to tell that story through. In fact, that's what most of my Facebook feed seems to be most days in my community. And that's what most of the great spiritual texts of human creation and or channeling do, for the most part, right? So I personally prefer to stay out of that arena, since it's already been done so well. After all, I don't see myself as a biblical scribe or an expert on anything as immersive and beautifully written as the Tao Te Ching or the Kabbalah or the Quran or the Tibetan Book of the Dead or the Bhagavad Gita or the Talmud or the Bible. And that would be incredibly arrogant, right? I merely read them and live my life in the most connected way that I can find and seek peace and inspiration as a mortal reader, just like the rest of us. So if we belong to everything, are connected to everything, create everything, are created by God and all of that, then who are we? Easy. We are anything we want to be. We are everything we want to be. And we are a story, a great nothing, and everything that are both loved, adored, and completely ignored by gods and goddesses, archetypes, angels, nymphs, naiads, archangels, demons, jinns, saints, guardians, and guides, races of extraterrestrial beings and creators from other galaxies, and the universe itself in all its manifestations. You are all of that. Total compassion means you are the universe. You are all form. You are the breath. You are the river. You are the void. You are the desire to be enlightened. You are enlightened. It seems rather ludicrous to me, given that reality, to ever feel alone when you really stop to think about it. But we do feel alone, don't we? All the time. It's one of the great pains and sufferings of being human. We forget who we are. We forget that we are all of that, all the time. Because when we hit whatever level of human, mortal despair and suffering we're currently having an experience of, in our day-to-day, hour-to-hour memory of whatever portion of our average of 73 years mortal incarnation that we are currently aware of, we simply forget how vast our limitless experience of and as the infinite truly is. We simply forget. We forget that as a creation of infinity and a creator of realities, we can change our perspective in an instant. Perhaps with one of the great spiritual traditions that have somehow found their way to humanity as our guide through the remembering, but not necessarily through that way, we can change back to our universal perspective of all that we are and all that we are connected to, and rediscover our divinity, recreate our agreements, recalibrate our cosmic astrolabe or perspective on who we are, and re-find our purposes. But that's a different essay. Thanks for listening.